Hey everybody, welcome to the MVM Farm out here in Mesilla, just about 5 miles south of the Mountain View Market Co-op. We run this farm, we've been running it for 2 years, and some of the things that we've been encountering out here is the high alkalinity in the soil, just the overall high amount of salt. We deal with something that's called caliche, which is it's a clay surface basically, and you dig about between 12 and about 18 inches before you hit sand. So we decided that we wanted to try to implement an aquaponics system using what will eventually be fish that feed aquaponic beds that we use to grow microgreens and plant starts and things like that. So I'm going to do a little walkthrough and show you how we set this up. So this system is really just a greenhouse that we built. It's about 11 feet wide by 24 feet long, and I guess the height probably about 10 feet at the top. So we started with just 2x4s and started with a frame, and then we built around the frame, went to the hardware store and picked up some corrugated paneling to create our transparent roof and side panels. And then we started to build these beds, which are also built from 2x4s and plywood. They're about 4 inches deep, probably 6 feet, 5.5 to 6 feet long. These all look like they're closer to about 5 feet. We dug out holes in the ground that were generally about 6.5 feet to 3.5 feet, and we put pond liner in it to create a pool. That's where we're going to put the fish. Put a simple pump, and it took us a while to figure out what kind of pumps we should use. So we found one that works. So it pumps out. This one is about a 500 gallon per hour pump. It travels up to the top bed here and distributes the water. And the water feeds into these beds, which we use this one is a combination of pea pebble and clay pebble. We use a gravity system so that we built at the end of the bed a drain with a bell siphon. The water drains from this bed into the second bed, right down here through this PVC pump, and fills this bed up with water, and then it drains back into PVC leading to the pool again. So I'm going to plug this system up and let the water run for a little while. So I just plugged in the pump, and it's now coming up the PVC. I don't know if you can hear it or not. Soon it'll be pouring into this bed. There we go. So this bed will fill up with water and eventually drain into the second bed, which will then drain into the pool at the bottom. We come down to the next set of beds that we have. You can see a little bit better how it works. The water once again is draining into this bed. This bed has already been saturated, so it's also draining from the top bed into the second bed here using the PVC. This bed has been saturated, so it is then draining into the pool. So this creates aeration. It creates oxygen in the water, which will allow the fish to have a steady source of oxygen. It's oxygenating the beds as well when it comes up. It helps too when the fish are in the tank. They create an ammonia with their excrement and urine, which actually is beneficial. Turns into a beneficial nitrate for the plants, and then the water is purified through the pebble system. So by the time that it gets back to the actual pool, it's already gone through a filtration process and been purified, and the fish can recirculate the water. So this loop is closed and continues to run. What happens is we have a certain amount of evaporation that happens in this room, but because it's closed, it's a reduced amount. So we just need to fill up these tanks every couple days to keep a level on it. These tanks are between 90 gallons and about 110 gallons, depending on how much water we put in them. So we put these in a couple days ago. You can see there are already some little sprouts starting to come out. So we take these plastic trays, we put it in a combination of coconut coir and worm compost. We put the trays onto the pebble and move it down. The water comes up to about quarter inch from the top surface of where you see the pebbles. So we just put the trays in, move some of the pebbles around and set the trays in so that they can whip the water through the bottom of the tray. So it's a continuous process. They're always being moist and water's always flowing through. And that's what produces the sprouts. So we're going to be producing sprouts, sunflower sprouts, possibly alfalfa sprouts, microgreens, which is a mixture of lettuce, kale, radish. Eventually we're going to start to build mushrooms in here. We're trying to figure out how to best grow mushrooms in here. We have, I think, the right climate in terms of humidity, and we can control some of the light at this bottom level where we've used a panel instead of, we use plywood instead of the corrugated panel, so we don't get as much light. We can probably control that even better. That's a little bit further off, but eventually what we're going to do is put in a fish system. We're trying to figure out which fish work best. We'll probably start with a small fish like a guppy, something like that, and then graduate to a larger fish, either a yellow perch or tilapia if you can get an exception. When we were digging these trenches for the pools, what we found was we hit this very thin grade sand. So we decided that we wanted to, on the other side of the pools, create beds of sand, which we'll also use to grow herbs. There are certain herbs that really do well in sand like this. So since we had this resource, we wanted to take advantage of it, keep it all in-house, and so there we go. That's our aquaponics system here at the MVM Farm. Thanks.